Thumbs up if you're watching this in 2016! Welcome back to everyone's least favorite circus run by lizards, with your host, Dictator Joe. Contrary to popular belief, I do not have a group of minions. Yet. I had a super funny, epic win intro planned, but due to some recent events that have happened since it was recorded, kinda just seems dickish now. Anyways, we hardly have time since we have a big episode planned, so on to news. There's a ton of collabs that are about to be released, or some already have been released, so I'm pretty pumped. Hopefully they'll live up to the collabs of last summer. And I'm always linking to collabs that need a few extra entries in the description, so be sure to check them out. One in particular I want to bring to the spotlight is the Legend of Korra collab, held by Hot Fried Skadoosh. It could use a few extra guys, and it's a pretty good source too. So if you're interested, hit up the man himself and tell him that you're in. I know I'll be doing that one. The Little Dragons has officially reopened the blog, so if you're an aspiring writer, this is something you should definitely check out. Oh, and I guess there's one tiny other thing that my ego thinks it should share with you guys. I'm sure you know that Stirred K Really guy who does the YouTubepoop news thing. He's temporarily taking a break from YouTubepoop and the community as a whole for now. There's no way to tell how long it'll actually last, but there is one thing I can tell you. If he's gone, and Bender's done, then that means BlueCast is the only YouTubepoop show left standing. That means it's my time to shine. I'm the last YouTubepoop show standing. There will be no competition. But yeah, more or less he's leaving for a while, and if you're too lazy to go find shit yourself, you're gonna have to listen to old Dictator Joe to get your YouTubepoop news. So now that we're done that, time to move to the matter at hand. Today's episode is called Top 10 Worst Things Impressionable YouTubepoopers Do. I'm sure some of you out there are already getting the reference there. Now what I mean by impressionable, I'm referring to people who are easily influenced and let other people think for them. They're the main reason that I do the BlueCast, in hopes that they will get my message, and start to think for themselves. This little guide here should help you if you think you're an impressionable person. And as usual, it's probably not the best idea to be easily influenced by me in the process. I'm not a super genius, and I'm sure one of you is bound to have a problem with something that I say. So tell me about it. I'm open to criticism, or at least so I say. These really aren't in any order, but the first 5 I consider a lot less serious than the last 5. You're going to see the names of some of these reasons and instantly want to leave, but if you stay to the end of it, you'll be surprised to hear that I'm not actually saying what you think I'm going to say. So I encourage you to keep an open mind, and don't be too hasty about Xing this out. If you're guilty of any of these, keep in mind, I'm not trying to crucify you here. I want to help you think for yourself by showing you some things not to do. Number 10. Impressionable YouTubepoopers think that YouTube is the official YouTubepoop forum. It's probably not my best idea to alienate half my audience before I even get to the more important points, but I don't really care. Now you probably know that I'm not on the best terms with YouTube, and I admit I harbor a bitter resentment for a lot of the people who ruined my time there. I want to get it out of the way that this has absolutely nothing to do with my reasoning, and I'm not even trying to say that YouTube is a bad forum. If you like going there, and you have fun, then please continue to do so. Don't let me influence you. I'm just letting you know, if you're looking for this mythical, official YouTubepoop forum, then you're just gonna end up disappointed like I was. YouTube has come a long way, and a lot has changed. And I know I'm throwing myself out there with not a whole lot of evidence besides personal experience to back it up. But I'm pretty darn sure that half the regular users who visit YouTube, a majority of them no longer care about YouTubepoop. Heck, I've met people on YouTube who hated YouTubepoop and literally thought it was time for it to end. They said this outright, and no one really went against them to disagree. Of course, this was outside of Poop. There's still nothing wrong with going to Poop Talk and starting up some discussion. But people need to be broken of this mindset that YouTube is the center of our community. Let me put it in a way that hopefully some of you can understand. YouTube is where the poop is. And even outside of YouTube, there's plenty of discussion places that aren't YouTube. I've been a part of numerous Skype chats filled with YouTubepoopers where YouTubepoop made a big fraction of most of our conversations. Not to mention, some rude men have their own form. Shut up, Joe, no one cares about the little dragons. But my main point is, don't get too hung up over not fitting in with the Chew crowd. I did that, and boy, it has messed me up pretty bad. Just take it from me, it's easy to get obsessed with YouTube, and some people have insane troubles with overcoming their obsession. Now I'm going to cut myself off there, but if you want to know more, hit me up with a personal message or talk to me on Skype. There's a lot I can say, but I think if I go on anymore, we're going to have to move these little dragons back to the webs forum so we can all complain about it together. Number 9. Impressionable poopers try to be like their favorite YouTubers. Now here's a common and obvious one. I don't want to give the false belief that I'm supporting these guys who attack I'm a Person clone, so I'm just getting that out of the way now. I'm not even entirely condemning this action. I'm just making you aware of the reasoning behind this, because knowledge is power. No, seriously, in this community, knowledge really is power. Anyways, poopers that are easily influenced, they see their favorite poopers, and they say to themselves, I really like this. They think that the way to be best pooper, and in some cases, get all the subscribers, is through being like their favorite pooper. I'm going to give you the positive side of this, and the negative side of this. Here's the positive side. There's this guy. He makes videos, and he's pretty much your average pooper. Nothing special. His favorite poopers are Crow Productions and Hotel Ouija, and he copies them sometimes. Intentionally, even, because he likes some of the stuff they do, and he thinks it would be funny if he did that kind of stuff, only with the sources that he used. He wants to make himself laugh, and he wants to make other people laugh too. Does anything sound really bad about that? Well, if you think so, then come and fight me, because it was me that I was describing. Now here's the darker half. One pooper really likes Santa with guns. And now, Santa with guns is pretty much all but done now. And he knows people who would be open to a new Santa. So he uses all of Santa's sources, and even takes some of his signature jokes and techniques. And that's not too bad. It's when he literally tries to act like Santa, in the way he talks and what he does. Basically to the point that he started acting like an indifferent asshole to his friends, until eventually he stopped making videos, and nobody really cared. True story. Number 8. Impressionable YouTubers have their spirit easily broken. Now this one is kinda personal, because it almost happened to me. I'm not gonna get into my personal tales for this one, because I don't think those will explain what I need to say right now. Basically, there's a bunch of people, and I'm not gonna go wild and point fingers and get into arguments about it, but they have sort of a bad tendency to try to make impressionable YouTubers dig their own graves. They're very condescending, and whatever sector of the community they're in, they're usually at the top of the food chain for it, which is what makes them so deadly. Whether they realize it or not, their actions all lead up to destroying people in this community, and making them abandon their beliefs, and basically feel like shit. Why do they do this? Because secretly, they're just as impressionable, and they think that their way of life, that they've had shoved down their throat, is superior and the only way to live, so they enforce it on everyone. They're intent on trying to get everyone to think the way that they do. They have such cynical and yet effective ways of breaking a person down and making them forget about what they care about, and making them a mindless puppet of the Destroyer. Much like the Destroyer was. My tip for people who aren't too firm in their beliefs: avoid these guys at all costs. There have been times when people just left the community because they didn't care about anything anymore, and it's because of guys like these. They sit on their high throne with their big egos, telling everyone how to live, and the only thing we can do is just not think about them. Here's some tips on avoiding these guys. They seem to have some famous phrases, such as, "Oh, that's nice, dear." "Oh, wow, guess what? No one cares." And my personal favorite, the infamous, "I think you're taking this too seriously." There's a bunch of various other sarcastic and cynical phrases they have, but the point is, these guys are not good to be around. Take it from me. The sad irony is that they've had people do the exact same things to them, and they're so confused that they think that they're helping people by breaking them down and forcing them to be like they are. Number 7. Impressionable YouTubers don't venture out of their section of the community. This should probably be higher up, but the major reason that most impressionable YouTubers become so impressionable is that they scarcely leave their little circle of the community. In order to get a good understanding of the community as a whole, you should try to be a part of every little group and every little community that you can. I'm not saying you're going to be Mr. Popular and fit in with all of them, because I sure know I didn't, but you'll be able to learn a bit more with every sub-community that you're a part of. And eventually, you'll come to realize that we're mostly all the same. We set up these fences and dividers, but for what? The groups all have similar aspects, similar in-jokes, and all the things that groups of friends just have. But you can't realize this by just having me tell it to you. So branch out. Meet some guys you don't already know well, and get to know them. I don't think you'll regret it. While I'm on this topic, I believe that every YouTuber should have some sort of a home base. A group of pals either on a forum, in a Skype chat, or just on YouTube maybe, that they can go to, talk with, and have some fun by watching each other's videos. The community is really what makes this genre great in my opinion, and I think I have a little more room here, so I'm going to let myself ramble this one time. The reason that I keep The Little Dragons going, despite everything people will tell you about it, is because honestly, I'm just trying to practice what I preach. People on YouTube aren't big fans of me, and I'm not big fans of them. I don't really feel like Skype chats are a place I can call my home. I like the guys there, don't get me wrong, but I just don't understand calling it my home in this community. And the people on YouTube, well, most of the guys I used to be around with are long gone, so without TLD, I don't really have my home base, and I think some other people who go there feel the same. We're not huge fans of how this community has destroyed itself, and some people aren't big fans of us either. We believe that every YouTuber should have a place they can call home, so if you can't currently do that, I highly suggest that you join up with us. We're not a bad group of YouTube thugs run by Joe Durgan, like everyone thinks we are. We're just YouTubers like you, who love these videos, and love even more the people who make them, and we want everyone to be treated equally. Now that's my little rant for the day. If you haven't, I really do think you should check out TLD, and decide for yourself what you think of us. You might find that we're not as bad as people claim we are. Number 6. Impressionable YouTubers always try to act like the bigger person. Okay, now here's something I need to explain, because this one is very weird, and if you interpret it wrong, it just makes me look like a huge hypocritical asshole. In my time in YouTube, I've done several things that may make me seem like I'm trying to look like the hero. I don't do it because I care about what people think of me. If I cared about what people thought of me, I would have left this community a long time ago. I did it mostly because I could see people doing these things that were wrong. But more importantly, most of the time it was my friends who were the victims of this wrong. Now, a pooper who tries to act like the big person is always stepping into business that they don't belong with. And they're not even trying to fix it, they're just being attention whores. Which is why I classify them as impressionable. Usually you can see this when people are fighting over something that might seem silly to you or to other guys, but it really isn't silly to the guys fighting for it. And these impressionable YouTubers, they'll say something, make some sort of statement in front of everyone, telling them to stop fighting over something silly. They do this because they want everyone to see that they're helping these guys. Want to hear a secret? They aren't helping anyone. Let's say they do get these people to shut up. Do you know what happens when you keep people from expressing their thoughts for too long? Well, eventually shit starts to fly, and all that pent-up anger will come out in a burst of fierce words, and, majority of the time, very stupid actions. I'm going to say something right now, and even my strong supporters are probably going to tell me later that I should not have said this. And I'm sort of laughing as I say it, but I don't see any reason I shouldn't say what I feel, and I definitely feel this. If you have ever told anybody that they should stop causing trouble and send someone a personal message if they have a problem with them, you're self-righteous and only interested in making yourself seem like a hero. You're not helping. You're not solving anything. You're just trying to get them to shut up. So knock it off. Alright, we are reaching the top 5. And here we are. Number 5. Impressionable poopers try to get subscribers. And they try to discourage people from wanting subscribers. It just wouldn't be the BlueCast if I didn't offend everyone. Let me explain the first half. Impressionable YouTubers see subscribers as a measure of their achievements, which isn't too bad, but focusing on subscribers really shouldn't be the point of YouTube. There's nothing wrong with going out of your way to try to get some subs, some views, getting people to comment on your videos, but the most important thing is that you're having fun doing whatever it is you're doing. As long as you're having fun and not trying to wreck anyone else's fun, you're A-okay by me. But then there's that other group of fellas. These guys who go around trying to enforce their blindly accepted mindset that wanting subscribers is some sort of a bad thing. I used to be in that group, but I've learned my lesson. I think that I've mostly figured out why they do this. Remember how impressionable poopers try to act like the bigger person? Well, it has to do with this. They think that they're being the hero by helping these mindless, subscriber-hungry folk. They think that they're doing the community a favor, when honestly, they're just ruining the fun of other people. There's a strange thing going on in this community right now. People are starting to care more about the reasons that people do things, rather than what they're actually doing. And I do respect people who try to be good, but do bad things. In fact, Most impressionable YouTubers think they're helping, and they're trying to help. I respect this, but you can't help people by commanding them how, and even more importantly why, they should make their videos. There's something really obvious that you guys need to see. No one makes videos in hopes that no one is going to watch them. I don't think any of you would be making poops if you thought that you were going to upload them and they would be completely ignored. And you shouldn't. That would be ridiculous. We're people and we crave attention. There's nothing wrong with trying to get our videos some attention. Trying to stop people from wanting subscribers is a futile task that only further damages a community that's already in ruins. Speaking of telling people what to do, number 4. Impressionable poopers try to tell other people how to make their videos. I actually do have a little bit of an anecdote today for anyone interested. If you remember the first BlueCast, I did an episode sorta like this one. I called it the 3 biggest lies of YouTube. And my final one was basically saying that people said that there were good and bad YouTubers, which you should still know is completely false. One guy actually called me out in the comments. Apparently I left him some comment back in 2010 telling him to stop using Spadinner. Back in the day I was a real anti-Spadinner tyrant, and I was always telling people how they should make their videos. And you see what's happening now? I'm really starting to regret it. I realize that I've hurt people by telling them what to do, and insulting them, and I realized that I was trying to wreck their fun. And for what? So that they could make videos that I want to watch? That's not fair at all. People should make their videos in any way they want to, and anyone who disagrees needs to mind their own business. Just because you think something isn't funny doesn't mean that other people don't think it's funny. If anyone tries to start saying that your videos are bad, and tells you how you should make them, and what to use and what not to use, make sure you tell them that Captain Sponge and Dictator Joe say they can die in a fire. Well, okay, you don't have to be that extreme and drastic about it, but you should probably ignore them. I remember back in 2010 when all the I'm a Person style poopers were telling the Spadinner poopers what to do. And now there's more I'm a Person poopers than there are Spadinner poopers. And some other guys are coming out and telling these I'm a Person poopers now how to make their videos. It's actually pretty hilarious. I mean, revenge is wrong, and everyone should make their videos the way that they want to. They're your videos, and the only rule that I've ever heard of that makes sense is that you should have fun making them. Numero tres. Impressionable poopers are stuck in the past. I feel like even though YouTube is divided into a bunch of sub-communities, there are some issues where we seem to be divided almost 50-50. This seems to be one of them, at least around the areas of the community that I'm in. Change is a part of life. Things in real life change, people change, fads on the internet change, and YouTube changes. Trying to resist change is usually impossible, and in most cases it's kinda stupid. Our interests change, and eventually we're going to stop caring about YouTube one day, and we'll have to move on to something else. Probably something better and more important. The problem is that people aren't making the connection that they're changing for the better. They're confused, and they're trying to say that YouTube is changing for the worse. So what do you do? What do you do when you want to make something better? Well, from the looks of it, you find a bunch of old, cranky YouTube vets like yourself, huddle together in a Skype chat, and occasionally go out to complain to newer poopers that new YouTube suck, and it used to be better in 2007. Oh, and you troll the shit out of anyone who doesn't agree. Now, I'm not condemning you if you still like to make poops, like the old days, how they were made in 2007 and 2008, because I kinda do that most of the time. I'm condemning you if you're some cynical old 2007er who doesn't even watch YouTube anymore, but you still come out to the community once in a while, see one thing you don't like, then bitch and complain about it for like 2 days. Once again, these people think that they're helping, but they aren't doing anything at all, really. I first noticed this back in 2011, when the 2007ers were complaining about how YouTube was becoming so elitist and stereotyping, even though some of them stereotyped us as elitist douchebags at the same time, just because of the year we joined. Now, in 2012, it seems like 2008ers are complaining about how the community is getting too corrupt and ruining the meaning of YouTube. Do you realize what that means? It means in 2 years, I get to complain and moan about how much YouTube sucks in 2014! No, but really, I don't know what you people expect to gain by bothering newer YouTubers, when most of you don't even keep up with the community anymore. These guys are generally hard to not see right away, and if you do see them, the only smart thing to do is just ignore them and let them deflate their egos. Number 2. Impressionable YouTubers take YouTube news too seriously. Oh Joe, have you no mercy for the departed? This is the part where I stop being nice and stop giving a shit about how many people are unsubscribing me as I speak. Let me say this first. I don't really know that much about Stu personally, if I know anything at all. From what I can tell, he's a pretty presumptuous guy who jumps to conclusions about things way too quickly, without really giving himself the time to properly judge them. And what he thinks about me? Well, he assumes that every troll in the YouTube community is some sort of evil scheme put together by me and my imaginary group of minions. Some people claim that Stu is just being a fictional character when he does YouTube news. I actually have a name for that kind of excuse, but I think it might be a little bit over the line for me to mention that name on the show. Either way, there's no doubt in my mind that the real Stu knows the damage that he's causing to the community. In fact, he admitted it once on the BP show. I am probably going to link to that, just so if you don't believe me, you can see it for yourself. He goes on for like 17 minutes about how he regrets everything he did in YouTube, and how YouTube ruined him, and he ruined YouTube. While I admit, he was pretty much going insane and exaggerating a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of weird stuff happening to him personally in his life, but the stuff that he said, the stuff that was true, it's not the type of thing that you can say one day, and then the next day decide that you don't feel that way anymore. The problem is, Stu passes off all of his opinions as facts on the show, and people believe it. He jumps to conclusions that he later regrets or is too prideful to admit he was wrong. Like, remember when he called My Little Pony Mama Luigi's penis and said how horrible it was? Well, guess what? He became a brony only like a month later. He literally proved to everyone that he did an episode on My Little Pony without actually looking into it instead of making rash decisions about it. Like, honestly, if you only base your knowledge of Waxinator off of what he tells you, Waxinator is a spadinner pooper who uses Vegas and acts like Walrus Guy. It's actually not that way. I'd compare him to Dinner Warrior before I'd compare him to Walrus Guy. And the worst part about it all is that there are these fans that worship Stu like he's a god or something, enforcing his laws onto people. Like, I don't get it. Why? Tell me, what did he do? I've heard him talk about himself like he was a god. I even heard him say that at one point in time he was one of the big three of YouTube. And by the way, during the time that he was one of the big three, I had no idea he existed. I knew about Comguo, I knew about I'm a Person, but Stuart K. Riley never rang a bell. Anyways, I'm running out of time here and I need to stop bitching. Stu was just a guy with a news show, and technically that's not even true anymore. There's no reason you should worship him any more than you should worship me. And trust me, you shouldn't worship me. He talks all tough and acts like he knows things, but he began fading out a long time ago. Stopped keeping an eye on the community like he used to. If you believe every word that he says as fact, then maybe you need to open your eyes more than he does. And here it is, number 1. Impressionable YouTubers take YouTube too seriously. Hold on. Just give me a second. I'll find a way to make this seem not completely hypocritical. What's the key word here? What's the key word? Alright! The key here is too seriously. Everyone who's bothering to watch this video takes YouTube seriously to some extent. You probably put some effort into your videos, and since you're watching this, you obviously have some cares about the community that you take seriously. Oh, and if you were guilty of any of the things on the list, then you're definitely taking YouTube too seriously. But here's the big question. Where does serious become too serious? I always kind of think of it this way. When something from YouTube or the community starts to affect your life in some significant and negative way, that's when it's too seriously. This community should not affect your life. It should not mess your life up, and you shouldn't let it come even close to that. When you spend too much time working on videos, or doing whatever it is you people do in this community, rather than having fun in the real world, you're taking it all too seriously. There's a fine line. It's great to have fun in this community, and I do it, but I also know that real life is even better. YouTube is a fun little hobby. It's not some full-time job. Do not let it take over your life. There's an easy way to balance YouTube and your real life. I can't tell you how far is too far, because I don't know who you are, I don't know what you do, or what your life's like. But I think I can trust you guys enough to figure it out for yourself. Just remember, this stuff can be fun, but it can't even come close to comparing to some of the other stuff you can do with your life. That's all for today, and considering that this video is probably above 15 minutes long, I'm going to cut out all the useless stuff I do at the end. See you next time.